All right, so behind me is my 2020 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, and in August of 2022 I took it down a section of the Rubicon Trail, and in today's video I'm going to show you some of the damage, and on top of that we're going to take care of some of those scrapes, get rid of the rust, and overall just get it ready for the rest of the winter. No, it's a little bit overdue. Some of the rust is already starting to show with some of the salt that they've put down on the road. So I guess with that, let's get to it. All right, so these rock sliders are one of the two things that are aftermarket on this Jeep. I have these rock sliders, actually one of the three things. I have these rock sliders, I have a winch up front that we just saw, and then I have lower control arm skid plates. But other than that, everything is still stock. It's still at the stock ride height, as well as the stock 33-inch BF Goodrich all-terrains. But here's the driver's side Ironman rock slider. As you can tell, it has some scraping from sliding on some rocks, as well as some more scraping where it mounts onto the frame. This guy looks like it actually took a pretty big hit and dented in. This front one fared pretty well by the looks of it. On the passenger side rock slider, we see a little bit more scraping, but if we go under, you're gonna see that that front mount right there took a really big hit. This middle mount also took a hit, and so did the rear one. Now whatever caused this also scraped my fender here and actually made it all loose. So I think, but if it wasn't for the additional clearance of these rock sliders, probably would have ended up losing that guy and maybe getting some body damage here. Moving to the front bumper, we took some damage over here on the driver's side, and then if we look at the front skid plate that's normally behind the air dam, we also took some damage here, and it looks like we got a pretty big bump as well. But other than that, I think everything fared pretty well up here. Alright, having a look at the steering geometry, everything looks good. It looks like this, what is it, the oh man, I'm drawing a blank, steering link looks like it took a few hits, but I guess mostly scrapes more than anything. Alright, so now this is the crossover from the exhaust, and you can see that it took a big hit. That's kind of scary because it's pretty close to my transmission oil pan. But yeah, that definitely took a hit. Speaking about the oil pans, it looks like my engine oil pan is pretty unscathed, so I haven't had anything that has hit up there, so that's a good sign. Next up is the passenger side lower control arm on the front. You can see that the mount right there is scraped, as well as the entire lower control arm, as well as where it mounts up to the frame. And where it mounts up to the frame, it definitely got bent a little bit. So now we're here looking at the driver's side front lower control arm. You can tell it also took some hits. Not as bad as the passenger side one though. It doesn't seem to be bent out of shape over here. Alright, here's my front differential. That looks pretty good. Didn't take too many hits. It looks like the rear differential took more hits for sure. You could see that the skid plate on the front axle disconnect took a minor hit, but barely anything. Looking further through the exhaust, looks like this resonator here didn't take a single hit, so I think it was well protected by the frame over here. And that right there is the transfer case skid plate. which also took a good amount of hits. Doesn't look to be bent though, but it definitely has a bunch of scraping on it. Next up, we have this cross member. This cross member, this point right here, is completely bent out of shape, and just a bunch of more scrapes on the paint. Alright, so here we are at the gas tank skid plate. As you can tell, there's a lot of scraping going from the front to the rear of the gas tank. Right now we're looking at it from the I guess from the rear, but you could definitely see that it did take quite a bit of hits. Surprisingly enough, I don't really see any dents, so the gas tank skid plate at least managed to retain its form. Alright, my I believe this is the front part of the gas tank skid plate, and it actually did bend in here a little bit. You can see that this is bent in, and you can see a bunch more scraping. There's also some scraping here along the frame as well. It looks like the tow hook scraped quite a bit. It feels pretty rough right now, and I think it's down to the metal. Oh, this, my tow hitch barely hit. I did notice that my exhaust, when I was done with the trail, had like been pushed in a little bit, so I'm sure that took a hit. Let's go ahead and have a look at the rear differential here. You can tell there's some more, I guess, scraping there as well. I think the differentials definitely took a beating. Let's go ahead and continue looking at this axle. This is the rear axle. Here's the damage to the lower control arm skid plate. The lower control arm skid plate definitely did its job there. This one actually I had to remove, but it looked very much the same as the I guess as the one on the driver's side. Alright, so I guess one of the good things is that there's no damage on the body itself, with the exception of, I guess, that scrape over on the rear passenger fender. There's some rock rash on my wheels. I'm pretty sure this was from the Rubicon Trail, though it could have been from some other trails as well. This is the front passenger tire. Well, actually, I've rotated the tires since my trip to the Rubicon Trail, so they're going to be in different positions. Pretty sure this was the spare tire, so unscathed. Alright, this is my driver's side rear tire. Looks pretty good, just a few hits here and there. And finally, this is my front driver's side tire. So there you have it. Overall, not too much damage. I don't think it's anything more than, I guess, any other Jeep that would wheel and eventually go over some rocks. But I guess what's next is we're gonna go ahead and take care of some of this rust. We're gonna use this wire brush, use some acetone to clean it up, and use some of this matte black spray paint just to cover it all up. Let's go ahead and get to it. So there you have it. Good thing is you don't got to be an expert spray painter to do this job. I mean, nobody's going to see the undercarriage of your Jeep, so it's pretty easy to do. It just takes some time, and it definitely helps to have a mask and some goggles. There's a lot of dust and rust flying around, so that's definitely super useful. If you have one of those low profile mechanic rolling boards, that definitely helps out too. I didn't have one, I was just rolling around on my back. But other than that, that's about it. Pretty sure I covered the majority of this Jeep. There's a few spots that I might have missed, but I'm content with the job. I guess with that, feel free to like and subscribe. But other than that, have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.